to introduce ourselves as colleagues and co-authors. Bob. Early in my career, I arranged to have dinner with a world-renowned Trappist monk who was involved in leading-edge work focused on developing leaders within the Catholic Church. Upon meeting him, I was surprised by his colorful character. He was a sailor before he was a monk, and he still had a sailor's mouth, drank scotch, and smoked cigars. As we talked, I learned his story. While a monk, he developed a rare blood disease that could not be cared for in monastic life and was forced to leave the monastery. For a while, he did not know what to do with himself. Eventually, he decided to return to the university and study psychology. As fortune, or providence, would have it, he studied developmental psychology and worked directly with Lawrence Kohlberg, an early pioneer in what became a body of research on the progressive stages through which adult development proceeds. I will never forget this monk sitting across from me with a scotch in one hand and a cigar in the other, saying, "They are finding out the same damn thing we monks have known for millennia, that human beings can grow, and if they do, they grow through predictable stages of consciousness all the way up to union with God. They are learning how to measure it." This conversation would define my career. I have been a student of how human beings develop, how they grow in wisdom and personal effectiveness. This passion and central focus of my life led me to leadership. Not only have I studied what makes for great leadership and how it develops, but I have had to put everything I learned into practice as an entrepreneur. Along the way, I discovered that leading is much harder than all the theory, research, and models portend. After meeting this monk, I decided to meet, learn from, and work closely with many of the leading thinkers and researchers in the field of leadership. I noticed early on that the field is a random collection of great stuff, a plethora of models, research studies, theories, and bodies of work, each aimed at explaining some aspect of human behavior, capability, or awareness that, when applied to leadership, promises greater effectiveness. Yet the field wasn't integrated. None of the various models, theories, and research related to any of the others. Each used its own framework and language. There was no universal model that tied everything together into one complete framework that explained what constitutes great leadership and how it develops. Without fully realizing what I was up to, I set out to integrate it all. I began to weave together the threads of the best theory and research from the fields of leadership, organization development, psychology, success literature, and human potential. I also wanted the integrated framework that was developing to be aligned with the wisdom of the world's great spiritual traditions. I kept asking, how does all of this fit together into a better model of leadership effectiveness and its development? I worked on this model for 20 years and field-tested each phase as it evolved. I applied it to myself and used it in my work with leaders and their teams. As the model matured, it gained traction. Its impact became more profound for my development and for that of my clients. Leaders were finding it unique, business relevant, and helpful in guiding their development. The model underwent various transformations as I struggled to integrate what I was learning, and it went through a final metamorphosis when I remembered my conversation with the monk. After 20 years, I finally realized what he was trying to tell me, and I turned to the research on adult development, particularly the work of Bob Kegan, one of the foremost researchers in the field. Upon reading Bob's book, In Over Our Heads, the model completely reorganized itself in my head, and I immediately knew it was complete. My next step was to create the Leadership Circle Profile, LCP, a 360-degree leadership assessment that measures and provides leaders feedback through the lens of the entire model. 3 years later, when this was complete, I launched the Leadership Circle, a leadership assessment and development company. One of my early clients was Bill Adams, who owned a consulting company called Maxcom. He and his partners had a 20-year history at the forefront of the business transformation field, redesigning